UK ewes insufficiently breeding. Welcome to Mark and Pete, where we ask the question, where have all the ewes gone? Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Tale of the Lonely Shepherd. Bar, black sheep, have you any wool? No, sir, no, sir, there's only a handful. None for the vicar, and none for his flock, and none for little Britain. We've eaten all the stock. Yes, indeed. What is remarkable is there are now 14.7 million breeding ewes in the United Kingdom. Well, that sounds a lot, but it actually is the lowest figure in living memory. And that is a staggering state of our farming and agriculture. Now, overall, the flock is also falling down, where actually the number of sheep is diminishing regularly. We rely enormously on countries like New Zealand, Australia, and many others. Mr. Pete, I ask you, what is going on with our British farming community? Why is it that we are so now dependent on other nations? And does this mean really that basically we can say bah humbug to our economy?
Well, we can. It's this running down of stock is happening. It seems to me is happening in many areas of the UK economy. Just it's as though we're coming to a point where it's not just the sheep, but they're indicative of a trend. Everything is being run down in all areas of industry. What's happening in the UK seems to be we're coming to an end. The economy is just, when you get to the end of a long day and it's nearly time to go, you just start to slow down and you're not going to stock up the shelves anymore because, well, it's nearly the end of the day. You might as well cash up and go home. That's what it feels like for Britain.
Yes, there is an irony here, is that the global lamb consumption is expected to grow by 15% between now and 2032. Now, this is according to a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the Food and Agricultural Organization. So let's be honest, there is a demand. But the problem is that tastes do change, and we understand that. But the fact is that if you're not self-sufficient, or at least if you can't rely on your own stock, then what does that mean? It means ultimately prices will increase. Yeah. We're already seeing that. Now, this isn't just because of the geopolitical issues, the turbulence in the supply chain and the general economy. The fact of the matter is if you have to keep importing stock from other countries, prices will go up. You've got the cost of feed, transport, and many other things. So, Mr. Pete, I am concerned about this because what I also note is, in a wider scheme of things, is that farming generally seems to be depleted. What's interesting is, and I know that we talked about this offline, the average British farmer is now 60 years of age.
Yeah.
Now, you might say, well, that's not too bad. But the fact is that what it's really reflecting is there's just not enough new talent coming into the industry. What does the British government need to do to address this?
Yeah. There's not. Well, farmers do not get supported. And the latest, messing around with inheritances has meant that they feel even less supported. There aren't new people coming in because it ends up being a high risk and it's a lot of work. And the reason why people were stayed being farmers is there's so many was because of the history in the family. But if you can't effectively inherit all the wealth that you've built up, well, that's going to take people out of the game in terms of farming. And it's kind of a pride. It's part of being British. Britain's wealth, if you go really far back, before the Industrial Revolution to medieval times, was because of its sheep. I mean, you've got the Speaker's chair in the House of Lords is called the wool sack, which is literally a sack stuffed with wool because the industry was so vital. The wool trade made England wealthy because, of the trade with Europe. So it's it's indicative of the loss of Britain's heritage, as well as the practical concerns you're talking about, and that there's something about an industry wanting to be part of a proud industry which keeps people in there even with the great difficulties. And if that's being lost, and if there's not enough sheep and you're feeling morale is low, well, there won't be more farmers joining. I think we're going to have that average age getting older and older. We're just not getting new people going into farming. I mean, that's a question. We often ask questions to our listeners and feature them in later shows. Have you ever considered going into farming? Do you know anyone who's actually changing to go into farming? Very, very rare, apart from Jeremy Clarkson.
Well, quite. Yes, and I'm sure he's doing a sterling job. But the fact of the matter is, you're absolutely right. It's really sort of, at one time, I certainly remember when I was at school, I came from a sort of more of a rural community. And, the farmers were very much respected in the community. They were seen as being people who were sort of pillars of the community, adding value. You could even go and buy their goods, with those sort of farming shops, etc. But the crucially is you never really saw a poor farmer 50 years ago, whereas today the game has changed. And I think this sort of outsourcing model is just not sustainable. It's not something that the government can continue with. But here's the other thing, because the other side to this is what you also do with sheep. I mean, there's the wool trade as well, because that's also on a decline.
Sure.
Different story, but the principle is exactly the same. If you reduce your stock, if you reduce down the farming, if you reduce down that particular industry, you then can only rely on imports, and imports alone are never going to be enough. So, it's a shame, isn't it? Maybe It just seems that the government is pulling the wool over our eyes.
Yes. Well, what we need is a U-turn.